since we're talking to you, Teresa, I have to share something with you which I didn't tell you.
Okay.
You did a testimonial video for me, right? I
Yeah.
can tell you yours was the most engaging, even though I've got very good testimonials so far, but yours was
Uh-huh.
very engaging. It's because I think you do not know that, or maybe nobody's told you that. You have a very personality that comes across on video
Oh, really?
very clearly. You can create a connection with someone that you talk to.
Okay.
So I will be helping you as we go along. Sometimes we don't know these things because somebody
Right.
else has to observe it and then
Uh-huh.
tell you how you can. So when you were talking, and I think I'll have everybody see that testimonial video. It's actually on the website.
Okay.
But the thing is, the way you talk, not only are you natural, it's that connection, the wording, and you had a smile, and you were very, 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 relaxed.
Yeah.
And people love that when, you're even doing sales pitch. If you are, and I try to force myself because, I come across very serious, and I force myself to smile. When
Yeah.
smiling and being happy is contagious.
Yeah.
And it comes,
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
and also when you like something that you're talking about, like, I mean, this class is going to be life-changing for me. I'm slow in the race. I'm the turtle. I don't mind. It's my own race, but um I know that your class was talked about Thursday on Scott's call, and I almost chimed in, and you would have been overwhelmed and probably had way too many people had I started talking. I
Well,
was
but
like,
see, that is the key about raising private capital also.
yeah,
If you are talking about something that you kind of are into it, but halfway through, people are smart, especially when it comes to their money. Think about it.
mhm,
People are
yeah,
going to give you their life savings in some cases. They want to know that you're really passionate about this, you're serious about it. That's why I'm spending so much time talking about systems. I mean, systems are just things, right? But it
yeah,
actually shows someone that you're so serious. Just like property report, you could have done a one-page thing and say, here, here's
right,
the property, go ahead and no. But you did, if you do the work, it shows the person that, oh no, I'm really serious. So, and then on top of that, when you are now smiling and you're like sharing with them that is something personal, it's very strong. You
yeah,
can beat that. So I think this is a skill you have. I think you probably knew about it, but now you know that you can actually use it, especially when you're doing online presentation. Online presentation, there is when you start doing them, there's something that you have to overcome. Number one,
hmm,
your tone, your voice. By the way, guys, everybody knows this. Let's talk about this. This is important. Um, when you do live presentation or online meeting, there are two very important things. They're very obvious, but I want to hear you say that. What are the two most important things when you're doing online meeting? Just chime in.
I would just like being engaged and focus on looking at them, I guess. I don't
Okay,
know.
that's could be one. These are just like technical things, by the way. Sorry, technical. Those are two very important technical things.
Ensuring that the other person doesn't have any distraction.
Okay,
That's
that's still that's something, but it's not technical. This is more on technical side, on the actual meeting.
maybe slow down, highlight some words, uh,
Okay,
the way you expose.
it's very obvious, but
That your audio and your video work.
yes.
Oh,
Yeah. So the
Okay,
101, really.
now I'm gonna tell you things that you guys don't know. Matt, your video is good, but your audio is not good. And I'll come
Okay.
back to it. Joe, say something and we'll go to it. Say talk something, talk over.
Saying something and it's projecting my audio.
Okay. So what I'm trying to tell you is I'm using a additional mic. This is not a computer mic. So most people use a computer mic. Or they use, by the way, iPod mic, which is actually quite bad. You may not know it. It does have a noise. By the way, I have background in music production, right? So I know the technical part of it. So sound compression is now common in Zoom also. Zoom also compresses sound. But the quality of the sound, we're talking about the ambience and the ranges comes best from an additional mic. So you will, I'm not talking about hundreds and thousands of dollars, just get a decent mic, test it, and record yourself and listen to it. Because think about it, if you're making a presentation and either your video or your audio is not clear, it's 50% of your message is being lost. That's a lot. You don't have any chance. You don't want to take any chance by, oh, maybe my video will work, or may no, you want to make sure absolutely. So my video, I don't have the best camera, but I bought an additional camera, and I'll tell you what it is. It's not very expensive, but it's better than my I'm on an iMac. So iMac has a good camera, but it's not as good as this one. So that's number one. Number two, mic. I have a Shure mic, which is a couple of $100, but you don't need to buy that expensive mic. There are mics out there. And there was I was on a podcast, and the guy said, "Your sound is amazing. What are you doing?" So I told him I'm using a Shure, and then he started me, what kind of Shure? What model? I said, honestly, I don't remember. I bought it years ago. So all I'm saying is that when in a personal meeting, you don't have these problems. You don't have a problem of how they're seeing you. You're sitting in front of them. You don't have a problem of whether you can hear them around. But when you're on a meeting, you want to make sure that your sound, your audio, and video is very clear. So Matt, let's talk about. Did you know that your audio wasn't clear? Because I'm assuming your audio is coming from your computer.
Yeah, I've got an iMac that I'm using, and yes, I'm using just whatever
Okay.
microphone's on the computer.
Can somebody tell me why his audio is not as good? There's a technical reason for that. Again, it's sorry.
Got some reverb going on.
Okay, there's a name for that reverb. That's called ambience voice. So your outside voice, you're right. It's in layman's term is the echo. So what's happening is his sound is reverberating based on where he is, and that's making the sound a little diffused.
Yeah.
So I can still hear him, I can still understand him. But if your sound is clear, it's kind of like saying when you're making a presentation, your presentation is crystal clear compared to it's a little blurry and you have to squint and to see what it is. Do you see what these are small things, but it's big difference when you're talking to someone and you're coming across very clear. All right. So Matt, again, I'm really, if you go on Amazon, they're really good mics. USB mic, no technical thing, just plug it in, and they're less than $50. You can get a very good mic for less than 50. Most of the mics are about $30.
No, that's good. And Amir, it's funny because I've been on multiple Zoom calls and Teams calls, and no one's ever called out that, hey, your audio, I'm having trouble hearing your understanding. It sounds a little bit, echoish. So I appreciate that feedback.
Absolutely. So that's that. And then about the video. The video thing is a little hard because we're not always going to be in the same place all the time. So I have actually two additional lights that I use. Again, these are not very expensive. I put them on two sides on in front of me, and I don't have any additional lighting. But lighting does make a difference because if you're not clear, background, we're going to talk about the background in a moment. But your face itself has to be well lit. Basics of photography, you don't want to be in a light source that's behind you. You want the light source in front of you. Very basic concepts. It's the same thing with video. You need lights. And again, if you go on Amazon, I'm not talking about anything more than $50. You can find these are LED lights, and they're very portable, small. You can put them up there so that you can move around. So you don't need heavy equipment per se. But your basic setup when you're going to make your presentation, your laptop, if you're using laptop, you will see that in case of Mikhail right now, I guess you're on a laptop. It's a little bit, if you look at the angle, right? My eyes, my seat and my eyes are a little bit it's not perfect, but it's still in line. So I'm not looking down and I'm not looking up, right? So you want to kind of work on those things. I don't know. I've not seen any psychological research on this, but I think, remember, what we are doing is we are simulating a conversation, right? So how close is this simulation to actual conversation? If I'm looking at somebody down there, it's very Same with eye contact. Ideally we all want eye contact, but it's very hard when the camera is not exactly where the screen is. I try to move the screen up as close as possible to the camera, but still it's not perfect. So remember, we are trying to simulate a real conversation, and you want to be as close as possible in your video, in your audio. So your video should be clear enough. We're not talking about professional level, but should be clear enough that when you're talking, nobody's distracted, right? Uh, uh, it's obvious internet connection. That's an obvious thing. That's not an issue now. But hopefully that was helpful. I just thought of that. I talk about that because very few people talk about those things. And think about it. Have you ever been to a professional presentation? I've seen like they call themselves professional and they've not even invested in a mic, and you can hear a whole bunch of they're in a big room. And by the way, you know how this reverb works. If you're in a room with no like hard surfaces, wooden floor, or no curtains and all that, you have reverb, which is really crazy. It creates a really bad. That's why when you go into a church and all that, they don't have curtains. You hear this huge sound, right? And so you want to avoid that in a room, which as much as things you can have that can absorb sound, like curtains and carpets and stuff. Okay. Having said that, the biggest news before I can answer your question was, I don't know if anybody saw this, or not everybody's seen it, or you're not excited about it. I put up the details for the workshop that we will be doing. Let me share that with you. Can you see my screen? Okay. So here are the details now. So everything is there. We got the date locked in, right? That's the official name of the workshop. So I'm in the process of making a very simple graphic that you can use also. And so you can use the words exactly as is, that in this free 1 hour workshop, you learn how you can invest and start generating monthly cash flow with as little as $30,000, organized and hosted by me. And then I'm going to talk about why I'm using this. And there's a reason for that. Because I'm doing this, we're doing this for the first time. What I want to do is have the same branding for all of us. All right. The way I'm going to introduce everyone is that I'm going to introduce myself, and I'm going to say we are working as a team. All right. Even though we are working as a team, we are individual real estate investors. All right. We are just cooperating in this marketing effort. That's why we brought everybody in. But each investor is separate and independent. And I'll go into the exact verbiage that we're going to use as we go along. But as of now, you feel free to use this. It's safe. You can go ahead and do that. This link, I did share it with and Joe, thank you for correcting me. Apparently what happened, so when you go to this link, it is a registration page. So you cannot join the Zoom call until you register, right? So when you invite your friends or your prospects, they will have to register. When they register, right at that point, they'll have to choose who invited them. So we will capture that information. Apparently there was a two-step process in Zoom. I did try to save it, but it apparently didn't save. So Joe said, hey, it's not showing up. So I had to go back and correct it. So now it's working. So everybody who's participating, host and the other people, their names are there. So if you send somebody there, obviously they have to choose their name. So we are capturing their information. All right. So you can send that. Now I did come up with these two. One is for email template that you can use. You can tweak it. I mean, if it's your friend or someone and you want to add a couple of lines, but when I send out messages, I want to make sure branding is important and the title is important. Date, time is important. Oh, wow, look at that. That's it. So you correct that, 2025. You do want to make, this is one of the most important things. If you are, doesn't matter where you are, right? You want to make sure the time is always mentioned, CST, PS, whatever it is. You want to mention that. It's very important. And so if you notice something, look at this. We're not giving them the link. Do you see that? Because this is a marketing idea. The idea is this: if you do it in your first message, now you don't know whether they're going to come, now we are in an awkward situation. So what you do is first, very, very look at this word right here. I'd love to invite you. Are you available? Do you see that? And so, first of all, it's very friendly, it's very casual. And if somebody will say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I have a wedding to go to," okay, no worries. But if somebody says, "Yeah, I mean, I might be open to it," now you have another opening. Now you have a conversation, and then again, you're not talking about a long conversation. That say, "Oh, great, so here's the link," and then if you want to add a few more things, you can. But that's what I would do. Same with the text message. I would try to even reduce this further as much as you can. See, in here, I'm using this word co-hosting. If you are co-hosting workshop, and do you see, instead of saying that we are marketing, try avoiding using the word we. People don't. Do you see a lot of our newbies who are in our school community who set up their private money lender website? You look at every single one of them. Every one of them use the word we. Nothing wrong with it when you're starting. The problem is you're dealing with human beings. And when you're dealing with money, they want to see faces. You're not a Morgan Stanley that when you say we, they will understand there's credibility. They don't know you. So I know in some of your cases you work and it's hard for you to put your face out there, but figure out a way to present yourself as a person. That is, believe it or not, it's more credible. So that's why I'm using a word where I'm saying I've been allowed to invite few select of group of friends or friends, and so you see how you are actually packaging it. It's that it's an important event, and I've got free passes or something like that. Do you see that? So you're using verbiage very carefully. And then again, instead of putting in the link in the first text message, don't just say that I'd love to invite you. Are you available? So you did provide them the date. Again, the dates. I'm sorry, the year is wrong. The time and everything. And then as soon as they respond, say, here's the link. Now, here's what you want to do. I will keep telling you, and before the event, after you invite them, before the event, I will share with you who is coming. Remember, just because of the fact they're registered doesn't mean they're going to show up. So now you still have to do some work. Maybe you can do a follow-up email or text. Hey, I see you registered. I'm so excited. I'd love to see you then. Would you mind if I send you a reminder a day before, even though they're going to get an automated message, but you're creating that personal connection. And they're also thinking it that way. Remember, if you're marketing it as, oh, this is a big event, in their mind, they don't know. They might think there are 1,000 people coming. And if I don't show up, it's not a big deal. But if you make it personal, that, oh, I'm so glad that you're coming. I look forward to you. I'll be chatting with you. Now you made it a little personal, that you're really looking forward to it. Do you see that? So that's what you want to do. And if you do it right, I'm pretty sure that if they went through the trouble of registering, they will show up. Okay, so just keep it very friendly, natural. Try avoiding to use we, my company, or it's me. Use the word me. Make sense? And people like that, believe it or not. Yes, you want to be professional and all that. That's fine. I also have Dream Prime Homes. That's my company. When I'm talking to an investor, I'm talking about myself, me. You're investing with me. Yes, my company is the one that's going to hold the deed. That's technical stuff, but I'm the person. You're dealing with me, right? Oh, yeah, I actually have the screen. So this is what so when they click on the link, this is what it looks like. So I'm hoping I think you can put a graphic over here. So I'm creating that graphic, and so the graphic will show. And so we will have similar graphic for everyone. So you see the background that I have. I will share that graphic with you. It'll be like this, plus it'll say master passive real estate investing from 30K to monthly cash flow. Everybody will have that right in the back who are co-hosting. So when it's your turn to talk, you will have the same background. Does that make sense? So that's that. Okay. All right. Questions?
I've got nothing about the workshop specifically, but I do have some questions in general whenever the time is right for
What?
that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
General questions. Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, I watched the video from, I think it must have been Tuesday's video. It had the property assessment report. essentially. And when, so I'm imagining that when you have a property under contract, you do that. But I imagine when you're looking at properties, you kind of do a similar process just to ensure that you're like, I want to buy this property. Um, so yeah, this is still related to PML, but I do want to source my own deals like we all been talking about. I do like the wholesalers from the Freedom Accelerator group. You know, they're procuring the deals, but I do want to start to look at more deals. If I were to pick one location or one that you've looked at, Amir, what is your like top two things that you've been getting some experience making the report with, like Zillow or MLS of sorts?
Yeah. So the two or three sources that I use, number one is PropWire.
Mhm.
PropWire just recently changed their formatting. It used to be really good. Now it's I don't know what they did, so it's not as good, but still it gives you the information. So I search there, take screenshots, and then put them simply there. You saw the video, right? I actually
Yep.
show you how to do that. So
Yep.
that's one. PropWire is one. I use PropWire for both, also for valuation as well.
Okay.
And I use Zillow exclusively for rental comps. That works perfectly. So far, have not been have a problem. On sold comps, you may have some problems sometimes. Remember disclosure state, non-disclosure state. Sometimes you run a report and everything shows zero, zero bedroom, zero, zero, and so you don't know what you're comparing. That's when you have to do a manual search. Uh, so I did a video. This was in my newbie call. I'll see if I can do that. But essentially, I'll describe the process for you. What it means is you will go to Zillow and you will go to you cannot do it by address. So it's a kind of workaround.
Mhm.
You'll go to Zillow, you will go to a zip code, and then you will look for sold properties. And then you will have to manually zoom into where your property is, which is actually pretty cool. It's
Mhm.
very interactive. Go to that street and then you're starting just putting your cursor over properties near your subject property who are comps, which means if your subject is 3-1, you just put your cursor over there, it'll show you it's a 3-1 or 2-1. So if it's a 2-1, forget it. If it's a 3-1, and plus you're looking at approximately as you're moving a cursor, you know it's less than half a mile. So that's a manual process, but I mean it works because the data is there. So I
Great.
use that, then I would do that. Then I would take screenshot. It is work. I
Mhm.
mean, as you can see, it is work. But when you do it, guess what? There's no denying what you got.
Mhm.
You got proof, you got actual comps, plus the most important thing you have is you have dollar per square footage. You cannot get that. You cannot make that up, right? So
Yeah.
once you get that, and somebody is arguing with you or questioning, oh, where did you get this value? Well,
Mhm.
based on dollar per square footage sold properties. And here are the properties with their pictures, sold date. You can go and check.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't get any. That's how appraisers do it, by the way. So there's nothing different in the process.
Great. And then as far as sourcing the deals that you want to put under contract, are those the same sources that you use, like PropWire to find prospects, or what would be a good way for me to start looking for properties? I'm sure it varies by
Yeah.
region.
So I do buy from wholesalers, but I'm seeing wholesalers they're just too expensive. I mean, when I first joined 2 years ago, usually the properties would be under 30,000. Most properties wholesaler will bring in, they would put it under contract at 20 and they would sell it at 25. And this makes sense. The properties are like 35, 8, 35, 40. I've seen $45,000 property. I'm like, how are you going to, even if you rent it at 900 or 1,000 or even $1,200? I mean, I don't understand. So
Mhm.
we're moving away from Scott's model. And I'm not saying that people are not doing it. People who know how to do it
Mhm.
or in markets where the rents are very high, they're making it work. I just like to really, really become really good at what the Scott score model is, which is very exciting if you think about it,
Mhm.
because $30,000 is very affordable. It's a smaller number. The payments are small enough. That's why it's exciting. That's why it works. So the more you go far away from the model, the harder it becomes. All the things, taxes become harder. Your payments become harder. And if you're behind a couple of months payment, I mean, that becomes a large payment. Like if it's $1,000 payment, it's like 3 months, $3,000. That's not change.
Yeah.
So my number one source is the MLS.
Mhm.
But I have techniques, and I'll be happy to share with you. So I just put a contract on a property yesterday. A funny story with this. By the way, for everybody's reference, when we are a professional, doesn't matter what we are doing in terms of service. If you offer a service, you're solving problems. So you're going to win if you can solve a problem that maybe other person cannot.
Mhm.
It's the same thing with buying real estate. When somebody is selling, let's talk about the MLS. There's a property comes on the market, and guess what? A lot of people do not put an offer on it. And I'll tell you, this property that I put an offer on, and I actually got it. I'm not kidding you. There were 3 agents when I was doing the walkthrough. There were 3 agents present. There were 3 other people looking at that property. It was going to sell on that day. But for some reason, I got it under listing price. And people are like, well, how did that work? It's number one, you have to be prepared. So remember, I talk about systems. So I only do 2 things. I figure out the value as this value. As soon as I know that the property is undervalued, right? Of course, I looked at the property and I know there's no major issue. So that's number one. That's from pictures. But the other thing is value. It doesn't matter if the property is in good condition. If the property is listed at 30,000, but it's barely valued, you cannot even get 20 for it in the market. No comms. How can I sell it to my PML for 30,000? That right there is a problem. You see that? So that's number one. So it takes me 5 minutes to do that. You can do it too. I can show you how, right? Same with the rents. It takes 5 minutes to do that. If you have those 2 pieces of information and you've seen the pictures, you can make an offer. How long does it take you to make an offer? Literally, if you're on the phone with them, you can give a verbal offer. The agent puts it in writing. You just have to get a PDF and you just click yes. Now, the other is proof of funds. Without them asking, you need to do that. Proof of funds, I told you the service that I use. Literally, you plug in the numbers, and in seconds, they email you a PDF. It's very customized. It has your company name, your name, phone number. It looks really it is genuine, by the way. And I always submit that, and so that's part of the systems, right? People take you seriously because number one, you know what you're doing, and you're doing it fast. That's the other thing. If you're not, let me sleep over it. Well, if it's really a good deal, it's not going to be there. This property where there were 3 people there, they did have other offers, but I was fastest. I figured out the value faster. I put in the offer faster. I talked to the agent. The agent and I just developed a little relationship. And then here's another thing. You use the agents, but understand they're also, human beings. You have to treat them with respect and understand their problem. Let's ask a question, everyone. If a listing agent is representing a property that's listed at $30,000, how much do you think they are being compensated? And I said agent, I didn't say broker.
3%.
Sorry?
3%. How much? 2%.
Probably
2%, man.
Nope.
they're only getting a fourth of whatever the percentage agreement is.
Remember, they're not the broker.
Yeah.
So the listing broker, by the way, since August, last year, the laws have changed. So some of this is now negotiable, and it's still confusing. So here's what I'm doing, and I'm not saying you should do it, but you should try it and see. In my mind, I put a budget of $1,500 that I will pay their call. So basically, they are either the listing broker or the listing broker's agent, and I'm signing a dual relationship with them, and I'm willing to pay them $1,000 or $15, $1,500 at closing. What this agent did was he actually told me, look, I will ask the seller to pay my commission, and if he agrees, you don't have to pay anything. And that's what happened because he wants to work with me more deals. But I was willing to pay that. It's worth it. So do you see what we are doing? I'm not being greedy on that part. I want him to win also. I want him, because think about it. I mean, he's going through all this trouble, showing me the property, answer these questions, putting, they need to be compensated. And so they are really usually not making a lot of money. the benefit is if you have some of these agents work with you and for you, they will bring a lot of deals like these for you in future once they understand what you're doing, you know. So sorry, that was a long answer.
That was great. Thank you, Amir.
Okay, cool. Anybody else? Any questions about anything? Matt, how are you doing? Tell me about yourself. How are things going? Systems and
Yeah, so I feel Teresa's pain, a little bit, as far as being able to keep up with the rest of y'all. Y'all are really going quick, and it's been a struggle for me. Julie just had a hip replacement yesterday, so we were at the hospital and stuff. So
got it.
we got a lot of things juggling right now, but I'm trying to stay caught up. I try to watch the videos, every week, both the Tuesday and the Saturday ones that I haven't been able to get to. But, as far as systems, I've been working with Christine to try to
Okay.
get her to help me as much as she can. So she updated my pitch deck a little bit with some things there that I couldn't
Okay.
change. So she did a great job there, and she's working on my web page and my CRM. And then I already had Zoom and Calendly set up. She's working on, integrating all of that together. So I've got her working on all of that, so that all that's ready to go anyway.
Okay. So yeah, I was thinking about you and Teresa, and I think Jason, you got all your systems set up, right? Okay, you got ready to go. I think everybody else is as well. So what will happen is we have one more week, Tuesday, where I have a live, training. After that, we will go to our once a week regular coaching calls. If and when your systems are set up, um, I will give you action steps. See, right now you're just thinking, well, what will happen after I have my system set up? Well, one is this workshop we are doing. And I understand if you don't feel you're ready and you're not participating, I understand, right? But I will still have other things that you can do actually, right? Once your systems is set up. For
Yeah.
example, let's say using our tribe strategy. We can have a discussion about that, and you can say, okay, yeah, maybe that's something I can explore. I can then give you action step based on that strategy. This is what you can do now. The thing is, see, I cannot tell you to do any of those right now, because as soon as you do, something will fail in your system chain.
Right.
Right. I mean, you can simplify it. Let's say you find somebody tomorrow, any of you, by the way, guys, yes, system is awesome, but let's say somebody is ready to talk to you. Just because your systems are not in place, that doesn't mean you should not do this. Just reach out to me. If I have to get on a phone with you, I will do that. You've seen the call that I did with somebody in our Freedom Accelerator community who called me, and I got on the call with the investor. So you want to watch that. So I can do that for you. If you have an investor who's serious enough and has questions, I can get on a call with you and just help you. What will happen is remember, I'm going to help you, but at the end, towards the end of the call, if they're ready, you have to be ready.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't, then I can't do anything beyond that. Do you see what I'm saying? So that's why while you can get away with it without your systems, you do need to be ready. You need to know what is the next step. So let's just role play on that. When I say role play, I mean, let's say, Matt, you have somebody you got on a call who's interested, and you have the call, you have that person with me on the call, right? We do the call, everything is good, and towards the end, the person says, okay, this sounds good. What's the next step? What do you think I will say? I don't know.
Yeah.
Because he's not or she's not going to be working with me. She's going to be working with you.
That's
So
right.
that's where you literally have to talk over me. But when I say over me, meaning to say, you have to say, oh, this is what we are doing next.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you're not ready, well, guess what? Then, so that's what I'm saying. So we need to get to that level, that step where you know what you're going to do. So in this case, let's talk about it. What do you think would be the next step? So let's say there was a call.
Yeah.
We went to the end of the call. What do you think you would say?
And we've already gone through a pitch deck already, and
Yes.
that was the purpose of that call.
They understand the model, they understand their commitment, they understand a little bit about the properties.
Yeah.
they're ready.
Yeah.
And let's assume let's say there's no self-directed IRA. Let's say they have cash.
Yeah.
They have 30 grand cash. What is your next?
Yeah. So I think my next thing would be, now if you're ready to commit funds, to a project, now it's on me to go and find a property. I will now source a property that fits our business model. I'll get with you on specs around the property. I'll give you a property report. And then at that point, we'll talk about a closing date whereby you would transfer funds to a title company. We would close on the property, and then you would begin receiving your payments for the property.
Okay. What do you think, guys? If you were on a call and this is what Matt told you, your opinion? Anyone?
Maybe it's wrong, but I feel like I would have said something pretty similar.
No, it's not wrong.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that Matt did answer. He did. I'm just saying, if let's say you have 30,000 now and you're ready to go, you want to hear a little more concrete, specific steps. Matt did answer it, and I think yes, I agree with that's what needs to happen. But do you need to actually say that? That's what I'm saying. You need to simplify it more.
Okay.
Because there are a couple of things happening, and we can't all not be 100% sure, right? Sometimes it's a relationship thing. If do you have a relationship with that person where that person will be a little more patient, but what you need is concrete steps. So you need to say, okay, well, great. Let's say his name is John. John, great. So here's the next thing we're going to do. You literally have to say, number one, I'm going to send you. You do have to get some kind of. Remember, I showed you my commitment steps. Actually, I've not done a video on that. Maybe that would be the last week. It's the actual onboarding process. So I actually have a formal process through I onboard them, right? Which means I get a ID card from. I don't really need their ID card. Do you see that? I don't need their ID card, but I ask for the ID card. And then I ask for their statement if they're self-directed IRA. So this is my way for them having them commit. So let's say in this case, Matt, what you make creates. I'm not saying you should do it, but this is what I do. You could copy that. You said, okay, John, here's the next step. Number one, I'm going to email you. I would need 2 pieces of information from you. And once we have that, I'll tell you what the next step is. Sometimes, honestly, it's better instead of giving them the whole picture, which might actually confuse them when you talked about wiring funds. And, at this stage, remember, if you talk about wiring funds, it's a little premature because they haven't even looked at the property. They don't even know the process yet, right? So if you do it in writing, it's a little easier because they can visualize it. So I would say, number one, let me email you the process, what's going to happen. There will be 2 pieces of information I would require so I can actually formally bring you in my system. I highly recommend you all guys do that. If you don't do that, then you know what? Anybody can say, oh yeah, sure, bring a property and I'll be happy to look at it. That doesn't mean anything. That's like up in the air. But when you get some kind of a formal commitment in form of whatever, a ID card, a statement, now you're showing them, oh, we've gone through a process. Now you're working with me, and now I'm going to tell you what the next step is. I'm going to bring in a property. I'm going to present it to you. That's when you go into details. Does that make sense, Matt?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So think about that process thing. That what would you do? So I would highly recommend everybody say, okay, let me follow up with you. I would request 2 pieces of information. So in case of, let's say, this imaginary John, you would say, John, I would need an ID card, right? Again, you don't need it, but you're asking for it. Second, I would need a statement. You could use any statement wherever it's showing 30 grand. You can cross out your account information. You just need proof of funds. And that's actually very reasonable to ask. You are a professional, just like if they were to go and work with any large investment company, they would like proof of funds. Just like you would invest in a property, I put a contract on this property, they ask for proof of funds. So there's nothing wrong with asking for proof of funds from a private money lender. It's very reasonable. And sometimes here's another thing happened. I asked somebody recently about proof of funds, and initially he told me that he would like to do one. Well, he forgot when he showed me the proof of funds, he had over $100,000 in it. which told me potentially he could do 2 or 3 properties. So that's something also could happen is, when they show you more funds, maybe potentially they could invest with you more. Did that help, man?
Yeah, it's very good. Thank you.
And a lot of time, when we get better in small increments. It's these small discussions that puts the idea in your mind, because when you actually had that conversation, now that you and I have talked about it, you will tap into this in your memory and you'll say, okay, well, let me try it sometime. And most of the most of these cases, it will work if you are more organized than them. You're guiding them. You're telling them this is the first step, this is the second step, this is the third step.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, I picked on you, Matt, but
No, hey, that's fine.
you're here. I want you to get value, right? I mean, there's
Yeah.
a reason why you're here.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sure. All right, Jason. Hey, you're quiet.
Well, I was writing down my question. I was thinking about.
Okay, go ahead.
And this is to limit my own distraction because I have shiny object syndrome in a bad way. What would you think at this point we should be really focused on, like laser focused on at this point?
Yeah. If you have your systems in place and you are participating in the workshop, you can start figuring out a way how you can get your minimum 5 up to 10. Well, Joe has like 10 or more already, according to him. So,
Oh, Joe.
right? So work on that. Just figure out, like, either you want to tap into, this is where you can use your professional network. You can, start using all the things you've learned so far in how to start conversations. Because see, the issue was, there were 2 issues. One was, if you started a conversation and you were successful in this, you didn't know what the next step was. Well, you were thinking, well, the next step is to bring to a Zoom call. Now you have something better. Now you have actual workshop where something bigger than you is going to happen, right? Because there are more people in it. And you know that, right? When people attend something larger, they take it more seriously, right? If you were just you on a Zoom call, it's you talking to them, making a sales pitch. But this is an event, it's an educational event where they'll learn what they can do with their money, and you're bringing them over there. So right now, if your systems are ready, then that's what you need to focus on. If you're participating in the workshop, then just figure out who you can get them to the registration page, and then follow up with them, see if they're registered. And then after, a couple of days, just keep asking me. I can keep going into Zoom and tell you how many people we have registered and share with you who you brought in.
Okay. Sounds good.
Right? Mikhail, any question?
Any question?
Oh, to me,
No
no question at the moment.
How are you guys doing?
Very good, very good.
How's your tenant coming along?
Great.
Great.
Oh,
We got
great.
You have 2 tenants, so yeah, they're great. Actually, we're very happy with them. We love
Wait,
them.
how are there 2 tenants?
So we have three units,
total.
3 units total.
Oh, wow. So is it like a triplex, or is
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, triplex. Yeah,
Oh, wow. So is it a brownstone?
yeah, kind of
Kind of.
Oh,
It's a carriage house.
carriage house, but yeah, it's still like
okay.
one of kind of brownstones. Yeah.
Does the city have any restrictions on updates because it's in the historical district, maybe?
No, thank God, no.
Oh, okay.
We can knock it down and build a like 8-family building.
Oh,
We actually bought this property. It's a lot of far.
wow.
Yeah.
So you have big goals, huh?
Few years. No,
We like development. I mean, that's what we do, right?
Yeah. Professionally, you're, from that background, but you're in the wrong city. I mean, I
Yeah.
love New York. I lived in New York for 5
Yeah,
years, by the way. I loved, my time was great there, but with the family, and I know you guys, you don't have kids yet, so it's great. It's a great city to live in if you're just, by yourself. I
Well,
mean,
with kids and stuff, I agree. We
yeah,
have a few friends, they have kids, and I say 80% of them move out, maybe 70%
Yeah.
move out. The other state, like they still resist.
where are they moving out? Are they going to Long Island, or are they going to New
Austin,
Jersey?
no, well, a good friend of ours, they moved to Austin from New York.
Oh, wow. Okay, well,
Yeah.
that's out of
Yeah.
state. Well, that's happening. You know that. By the way, everyone knows this, that California, New York are the 2 largest cities who are losing very large amount of people moving out of the state.
Yeah.
That's been going on for a long time, though.
Yeah.
Not new, but specifically, in New York City, I'm actually reading a book about this right now that
What
talks
book was
about.
that? What's the title of the book?
It's called Abundance.
Abundance. Okay.
I mean,
Who's Abundance is I know the
Familiar?
it's by Ezra Klein, Derek Thompson.
Okay. Here you go. Okay. Yeah.
Actually, you will like it because it does talk about not just specifically economics. It talks about, there's a whole section about growth in terms of development in housing. And so one of the reasons why they talk about why New York City, this is relevant, so I'm going to talk about it very quickly. New York City, this is prior to the 70s. People moved to large cities because actually that was one way for Americans to move from lower income bracket to middle income bracket.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why people move to California, large cities. That's why people move to New York.
Yeah.
Well, if you notice, something happened, and after the 70s, there was a drastic increase in rents in large cities, California, Los Angeles, New York. So what started happening was your income didn't grow, but these rents grew so fast that it became unaffordable for people who were in the lower or mid range to afford these rents.
Yeah.
So it became unaffordable for them to stay in the city, work in the city, and make good living. They could do that before the 70s, but after the 70s, it was impossible. I mean, I can tell you, when I was there, I was working. I wasn't making a lot of money. I was young, and when I first was there, I still could not afford Manhattan. I was working on Fifth Avenue. I had a great office overlooking Fifth Avenue,
Yeah.
but I couldn't afford to stay in Manhattan. I was one stop into Queens, Woodside. I don't know.
Woodside. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And Woodside is nice. It was one stop. It was close, and I was renting with someone, so I was sharing still. And when that guy left, I had to find apartment by myself. I couldn't even afford those. It
Yeah.
was literally
Crazy.
somebody was pushing me away, away, and I was going further and further out. And that was a reality, and that's what's happened in all our cities. And it's one of the reasons why people are moving to places like Texas. And rents in Texas are not that cheaper per se, but generally there are no state income taxes. So, they somehow may see that they're going to get a better deal that way. Standard of living is a little bit better here. Housing is cheaper. I mean, the taxes are high, property taxes are very high.
Yeah. Property tax are cheap in New York. That's good. Property
Yeah.
tax very cheap in New York. So
Well, maybe because where you are, is it across?
it's across New York City, New York in general. I think it's very cheap because there is so much income from the state, from the regular like income. Like they don't have to tax on properties to make money, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the percentage of your monthly income that goes to them so high, then they don't need to. Like if you go to New Jersey, property tax is very high compared to New York. Yeah.
Did New York have state income tax?
Yeah.
Yes.
Very high.
Wow. Oh, okay. So that's
Well, in New York, you pay state income tax 6.87% and city income tax another 3%. It's a lot of money.
Yeah, I remember the first time when I started working in New York City, and the paycheck would come, and you would have your gross, and then it would be a big section of all those. And then when I moved to Texas, and when I started working, and you would have just state gross, and then you'll only have FICA and that's it.
Yeah.
There was nothing
Yeah.
else. There's no state, no city, nothing.
Yeah.
But as you learned, nothing is perfect all around. There's also something. So like in Texas, our property taxes are astonishing. Quick story: my sister lives in St. Louis, Missouri. Both her husband, my brother-in-law, and her, they're both physicians, and now they're retired. But at the peak, they were making a lot of money. So they lived in I think like a $2 million home. It's a huge home, right? Their property taxes, were less than half than mine, and my home is barely worth like $450,000. You know, for Texas, it's an average somewhere in there. And it was just crazy when I told them. They're like, "What?" And I said, "Yeah, that's what it is." You know. So, all right.
If you enjoy no income taxes, Amir, so
Yeah.
yeah, so that's nice. I lived in Texas too for about 5 years, and you know, to your point, property taxes on a $500,000 home, I was paying like, I don't remember, it was $15,000 or something like that in property taxes.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy.
But you have no
But
income
there was no
tax.
state income tax, so
Yeah,
it's they could get their money one way or the
Yeah,
other.
you're
Correct.
exactly.
Correct.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing when we talk about, you know, Canada, great place to work and live. There is no, I mean, free healthcare, free education, and everything. But well, income tax is astonishingly high.
Like
So you have less disposable income. So at the end, you decide, do you want free healthcare and free education, but no money to do anything with? So I mean, it's a decision. All right, we're getting away from the main discussion. So very quickly going back, uh, this last session, I just want to get your feel of it, because I can pretty much, the last session, I have a couple of ideas that I wanted to build in. By the way, just letting you know, just because this is the last week where I'm creating new content doesn't mean that I'm not going to be creating new content. I will be constantly creating and adding, and that's why you have lifetime access. So as I learn new things, new ways on, you know, finding money, I'm going to be adding that. But this last week, I wanted to ask you, what do you think I have not covered that might be really, really helpful? I want to get some ideas, then I can decide on doing a session about that.
I have three comments. One, Matt, I like your background. I noticed you put that up there. Looks good. And then two, I was just thinking, Amir, if you do this, maybe or maybe not. I know you talk about at the end of your level 2 pitch, you ask 3 questions at least, where you're like, how do you have 30,000? If you commit to a property, are you gonna commit? I can't, you know, if you back out, doesn't look good for me and I hurt relationships. I was thinking based on that conversation with you and Matt, doing that onboarding, collecting their ID, forwarding the proof of funds. And I was thinking a Google form with those questions that you ask, just like a check, basically check 3 boxes, be like, I have 30,000. I'm not going to back out of a deal once I do a hard commit, because then it's like you have a physical record. Of course, you have the recording on Zoom where they agree. Maybe that's overkill though on that.
No, I mean, it's a good idea. So remember, there is a commitment form that I have when they do it on a property.
Yeah.
But so when we do it over the phone, like on the call towards the end, when I ask them, what is happening is, remember, at that point, I'm not committing that they're in my system.
Right.
I do that by email.
Yeah. Okay.
So that email says, congratulations, you've joined. And in that email, then I ask for those pieces of information, right? But I understand what you're saying. That part where then I'm asking about, it's like a verbal checklist. But yeah, I mean, it's a good idea to do that. I'll see if I can create a form like that. Knowing me, you know that I'm just not going to create a Google form. I will then have to go back in that rabbit hole of saying, well, how can I put it on the website so that it's, you know, they're doing it and it goes into Podio and then it's an automation thing. And even though that's not very hard, but it's still, it adds up. When you add up a work, it adds up to more work. So I want to try to simplify it, but I like what you're saying.
Yeah, simplified is certainly better. The only thing I can think of for next week, it might be a slight divergence from PML, but what you were saying earlier, I would be very interested in you walking through, like looking at the property on the MLS and like just your system for getting a property under contract, because I feel confident based on the systems that you've given us for PML. I think it would be helpful, even though I've done this in real estate on my own, like assessing deals and putting in offers. I just haven't bought directly from a seller. I've been buying from wholesalers this time, which is a little bit easier in my opinion. But yeah, I'll be curious to see.
Okay. Let me put some thought to that as well.
Okay.
Let's a few minutes. Let's just talk about that. What's everybody's experience? Has anybody here bought a property I'm talking about a slow flip from a seller, from a wholesaler outside Freedom Accelerator community.
Nope.
Okay. I will highly recommend you not do that. Highly recommend. They are very, very, really bad, not just fraud, but they're really bad people out there. If you don't know, see, I have to tell you, there are a few people in our community who I would not do business with, but they're still in our community in that sense that they do care. So that's a little bit better than working with somebody who's completely outside. So I would heavily, I would say, be very cautious. And there was actually a newbie who reached out to me, and he had a property under contract, and he's new, he doesn't know anything, and I'm trying to help him. And I said, why do you do this? So I looked at the contract and looked at the property. The property is good. I, gave him some suggestions and all that. So, just be very, very careful if you buy from somebody outside. Benefit of buying from the MLS, and that's why I do that, is they're, uh, depending on the state, every state has very, very straightforward and strict laws. There's disclosure statements. They are required by law that the seller have to submit them. Even if it's no on everything, they have to do it, which means once they do it legally, they've told you that they know of no defects as far as blah, blah, blah is concerned. Once you have that, you have at least a borderline to start with. Whereas if you're buying from somebody outside, I tell you, even in our community, when people sell me, and I'm talking about people who have a lot of experience, they come to me and they're trying to sell me a property, and I ask them for a disclosure form, and some of them don't know what it is, so I have to tell them, educate them. But some of them who know, they cannot get it from me, and that is a little kind of right. I would like to know, well, why can't you get it from me? And they have all kinds of excuses, and that's a big question mark. You know what I'm saying? So just be careful. That's why I like buying from the MLS. It is more frustrating because not all agents are the same. More than half never respond to you. That's common, so you gotta get used to it. It's part of the game. The other half who do respond to you, you have to have a system in place. So I think if you watch my newbie videos, I did talk about it. I actually shared the actual text message that I send them. I keep tweaking it. It's very brief, but I upfront talk about things that I think are important for them to know when you're dealing with a agent, right? For example, I tell them, see, if you're an agent and I reach out to you, number one, they don't know whether I'm an agent. Number two, they don't know if I'm working with an agent. So if you say those things up front or clarify them up front, you are helping the agent or whoever the representative is know how much commission they're going to make. Remember, this is what they do for a living. So if you are not saying those things and it's a $30,000 home, by the way, this is another problem. Let's say you're reaching out. By the way, everybody knows how to do this, right? How to reach out to the private money lender. Sorry, I saw the message and I completely messed up. How to find the listing agent of the property. How to find the private money lender. How to find the listing agent on Zillow listing.
Usually on Zillow, they gives you like at the bottom below the picture, very little, give you the listing agent. It's very little, right? But
That's it. It's
right
very
there.
little. Oh, so people do this mistake all the time. On the right side or somewhere on the page, big.
Yeah, don't call that one.
Don't call that one. Well, guess what? A
We
lot
don't
of people
stop
don't know
calling you
that.
when you call that one.
Yeah, so you want to call the listing. So when you call the listing agent, number one, the listing agent is, bound to give, because they're the one who listed it. There is another problem with this, and let's see if somebody can tell me what that biggest problem is for that listing agent. Why would that listing agent not be interested in that $30,000 property? Why do you think it may not be on the top of their list?
Commissions low.
Low commissions,
Money.
yeah.
Right, because especially if you do a little research and you click on that listing agent, you'll see they have a listing for $1 million property. Whole bunch of properties that are $300,000, $400,000. Do you think if you send them an inquiry about a $30,000 property, they're going to say, "Oh, let me stop everything. Let me respond to this person"? Absolutely not, right? Now, what they do is, I do some good listing agents. What they'll do is they'll connect you with their agent, which is fine. I have no problem with that. So that's how I work. Joe, sorry, hopefully that was.
So
Yeah.
Amir, you don't have your own agent, maybe in one area, and then you work with him, like, or you
I
just
tried.
yeah.
Yeah, I tried. The thing is, you really have to give them a lot of business on a consistent basis
Mhm.
before, otherwise, and uh, I know like people like Joey and all these other people who buy like, I don't know, maybe 50 properties a month, probably a week. I don't really know. The way I look at the numbers,
Oh,
the
like,
amount of money they make, they're probably buying. It's a business.
off the chart, yeah,
So it's very different relationship if you know an agent knows that, oh my God, this guy actually buys 50 he actually buys them, not just put contracts, so he actually will close on them. That agent will not only return your calls, will work with you exclusively. But for us, I tried, and after a couple of calls, they forget who you are, and then you're starting a relationship again. So I'm like, look, and one thing you all know, do not sign exclusive contract with any agent. That's obvious, right? Please don't do that. Oh, by the way, what they're doing now is they're trying to slip this in, which is even more weird. So let's say an agent tells you, before I show you the property, I have to have you sign an exclusive um, representation, which is legal. That's nothing wrong with that. But in that contract, they slip in this option there that they are going to be your exclusive agent blanket for like 6 months.
Wow.
yeah.
I wouldn't do that. What I would do is say, yes, I'm willing to sign exclusive for this property for 3 months or 4 months or whatever is comfortable, which is fine, right? I mean, it's fair that they're showing this property. They don't want you to go behind them to put it under contract, which is fair. But beyond that, no, that's what I would do.
Yeah. Well, I remember when we were looking for a house here in New York City, a very good friend of mine is a real estate agent, right? And he was calling, right? At a certain point, hey, Michele, by the way, if I call them, they will never tell me, they always tell me, oh, the house is already in contract because they don't want to share their commission with me. And he was my real estate agent. So the only way, really, because in New York, you have to call them, the seller agent, say, listen, I don't have an agent and I'm willing to work with you. So now you can be the seller and buyer agent. So they get double.
Correct.
They get double commission. Otherwise, they will tell you, "Oh, we already have an offer," or blah blah blah. They just don't want to deal with you. They want the double commission.
That's what I do kind of in my text message. I tell them that I don't have a buyer's agent
Mhm.
and I'm willing to work with you. I just leave it at that and let them decide. So you're right. You're absolutely
Yeah.
right.
And he would think in New York, where the property value is very high, you say, okay, you're gonna give a little bit. No, they want everything for themselves. They don't want to share.
They don't want to share. Exactly. But no, I mean it works. Just I think what is happening, um, it's kind of I don't know. I don't want to comment on that. People have asked me, I don't know if any of you watch my newbie coaching calls. So there's some few people who actually asked me literally on the call, hey, can you pull up some of the wholesale deals that we have? We would like your opinion on that. I said I would never do that. Because I would not buy those products. So I said, I don't want to say that, this person is doing X, Y, Z. But having said that, everybody should negotiate.
Yeah.
That's the other problem some people have is they're assuming that something is listed at 35 or 36 and you have to offer 36. Quick story. There was a new guy. He doesn't know me, which is fine. And I was talking to him. It was a deal he brought in. And so I asked him, and so he had it listed for 35, and I figured out the value was around 25. So I said, I'm willing to offer you 26. So he was like shocked, and he said, why do you think it's 26? I said, because the value is 26. He didn't understand that when I gave him that argument, he was like shocked. Well, why would I sell it to you for 26? I said, because the value is 26. And he thought for some reason, just because he had a listing of 35, that it's magic So yeah, so if you just have to educate yourself and, not pay more than something that is worth more than that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. So yeah, let me figure out what I'm gonna decide on the Tuesday call, and we'll do that. And then, but yeah, go ahead and start promoting if you are wanting to do the workshop. please do that. And Matt and Teresa, just work on your systems and let's get that going. Okay.
Yep. All right.
All right, guys. See you. Take care.
Thank you, Amir.
Bye.
Yeah, thanks.